My name is Sara Lindsay, and on this channel, we talk about all things photography education and specifically how to make more money as a photographer. Today, I'm sitting down with Lisa Craig, a photographer, a brand strategist, and an all around creative powerhouse. She's someone who brings her heart and soul into everything that she does, whether it's photographing a client or helping other creatives build a brand that truly feels like them. In today's episode, we're diving into the idea of unreasonable hospitality, simple and soulful marketing technique, and how AI is changing but not replacing everything that we know about the photography industry. If you've ever wanted to deepen your client experience, refine your brand, or just figure out how to market yourself without burning out, you're in the right place. Please help me welcome Lisa Craig. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and just excited about sharing my love for photography, but also for marketing and trying to take some of that fear out of the AI thing of what's going on. And it's nothing to be afraid of. We've got this.
Yes, we do. I completely agree with you. I think AI is maybe a little scary because it's new. But honestly, like, I don't know about you, but for me, it's really helped me and my business be efficient and really use my time wisely.
Yeah, I found the same. So I'm looking forward to just diving in and answering all the questions, and just this is going to be fun.
Awesome. I'm excited too. Well, first, let's start with the art of unreasonable hospitality because that phrase is very intriguing to me. So, what does that actually mean? And more specifically, what does it mean in the context of photography?
Okay, so I had heard about a book called Unreasonable Hospitality, and it came out, I think, at the end of 2022, and I had to have it because I was just super curious. It's really a book about restaurants and the five-star Michelin restaurant scene in New York City and all the things that they do to make something over the top, like unreasonable. And really, just to kind of dig in and tell you what that really means is unreasonable hospitality is, first off, in my business, it's about my clients are typically a little bit anxious about getting their picture taken for many reasons. They might have had a previous bad experience. They may have been like really busy and just they don't feel like they know what they're going to be doing at this photo shoot. They might be self-conscious, have body image issues like we all do. And I just wanted to change the whole experience for my clients. So what I wanted to do for the reasonable part of hospitality is really it's a typical expectation. What do you expect when you do business with your automotive person? With maybe it's the takeout restaurant that you get food every Friday night or whatever. You have a reasonable expectation of hospitality, that you'll be greeted, you'll be treated with respect, that type of thing. That is pretty standard. And I just call that's average. That's the whatever kind of experience. It's not over the top, it's just okay. So unreasonable hospitality is well above the expectations. So to the point where it's almost unreasonable. Like you want people to know that you care. So you're going to go the extra mile or do something extra to demonstrate that. And some people might be like, wow, they really went over the top. And I call it's really a customized, thoughtful, an intentional, maybe even a little bit magical wow factor that you're going to give them. And when you do that and they walk away with that, wow, that is not what I expected, that is really amazing, then I've succeeded at providing unreasonable hospitality.
I love that. I mean, and how cool to give your clients that experience and leave them walking away being like, wow, like I want more of that, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, so tell me then, what are some ways, or like, was there a specific time when you really went above and beyond? Like, for our viewers, give them an example of what that looked like.
Well, so at one point, I had a high school senior client, and she was really shy and very nervous about her session. And I went through asking her all the questions about how does she want to feel at the end of the session? Does she want to be excited? Does she want to feel successful? Like what are those emotions she wants to feel? Once I find all of those out, I also go even further above and beyond to find out, get email addresses for her friends or text messages or text phone numbers for her friends. And I want to find out what they think about her. And I want to get them to provide some quotes. So in this particular example that I'm talking about, when I get ready to show her all of her pictures after the session, I created a surprise slideshow that used the audio clips that I got from her parents and her siblings and some of her friends talking about how proud they were of her. And when she saw her pictures and she heard this, she cried. And then her parents cried, and she had her BFF that was with her and her grandmother, and everybody was crying. And you know that you've hit the mark, or you've given the wow factor when everybody's crying, because truly it's moments like that is the soul of my work. And I know I have done a great job when everybody's crying.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, what a cool thing to incorporate. I never would have thought to do that, but I might have to start doing that now. That's
Yeah.
really neat. Yeah. I especially like to hear others' words about you, especially when you're in high school like that. And it's such a vulnerable time with body image and confidence issues, to like to hear kind things and empowering things from the people who are closest to you, combined with these beautiful photos that you were seeing for the first time. Like, that's powerful.
100%. And they absolutely love it. It's just not something that you expect when you are sitting down to look at your photos. You just figure you're going to look at, photos, you're going to flip through them, you're going to pick, a handful or more of your favorites, but you don't expect that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's also like unexpected could also be a word that we could put in there too for people watching this. Like, be unreasonable in your hospitality, but also be unexpected, because I think that that like ties into it perfectly.
For sure.
I love that. Okay, so a lot of photographers struggle with the client experience. So, what are some ways that we can make it feel more meaningful for our clients?
Well, I'm so glad you asked this, because oftentimes I hear a lot of photographers, they're like, they don't want to talk to their clients on the phone. I love talking to my clients on the phone. So, first and foremost, I think is slow down. Slow down to what you're doing. Have the conversation with the client. Listen more. Find out more about them and what they're looking for and where their insecurities may be. Ask more or better questions, and just really be curious about the person, so that when they answer your question, it may prompt another question. But the more you know about this client and what they're looking for, it helps you go above and beyond what they even expect. So I learn who they are well beyond photos. I find out, did they have a good experience previously or a poor experience previously? What do they want to see? How do they want to feel? What are they nervous about? And all of that information is really going to shape everything. So I think that's what makes my client experience more meaningful. And I think other people can do that too if they just take the time.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you on that. I think we're on the same page, where really truly like getting to know your client, like they're not just like another number. They're not just a paycheck. They are a person, and the more we can get to know them on a personal level, the better their experience is going to be with us.
Yes, 100%, for sure.
And then honestly, like the more money they're going to spend with us, right? Like if people watching are doing in-person sales or IPS, like the more we can connect with our clients, the more they're going to spend with us, and the more like the happier they're going to be with that experience.
Well, and since this video that we're recording here is really for other photographers and how they can improve their experience, I can almost guarantee you that anytime the dad is crying, he's writing a bigger check. Almost every single time. And if grandma's crying, yeah, she's either writing the check or everybody else is writing the check.
Yeah, so true. I love that. So then going off of that, are there any like additional like small touches or gestures that you found surprisingly make a huge impact?
Yeah, I like to give a handwritten note in like their welcome kit. And if I'm not seeing them in person to deliver that welcome kit, I will mail them a handwritten note. And really, it's about my sentiment about how I'm excited to work with them, and we're going to really create this magical session that they're going to love. I also create a Spotify playlist that is kind of tailored to the vibe, their vibe, whatever that is. I can tell you with high school seniors, it's almost never what I vibe to. But it's good vibes for them. And I know this because they've told me what their favorite songs are. That helps me to shape that song list. I even like to come up with snacks that maybe align with their personality or some kind of a favorite treat. It just shows that I paid attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit like how do you find out their favorite songs or find out their favorite snacks?
I have a questionnaire that for at least my high school seniors, they fill out a questionnaire that talks all about them and tells me what their favorite things are, what their vibe is for their senior year, and talks about the favorite music, a favorite quote, and those kinds of things. And I have that information there. They may think it's questionable as to why I want that information, but ultimately, I'm going to use it in their session some way. And if I'm doing that slideshow at the end, I can also weave in some of their favorite quotes.
So tell me, how does taking those extra steps change the way that your client maybe talks about your work or responds to your work?
First off, the referrals that they give me are a lot more heartfelt. Like they are so touched by how far above and beyond I went that they talk about me all the time, or they'll share out on their social media about bits and pieces of the experience. And they do that over and over again. It's not just like a one time, let me post a picture and one and done. It's frequent that they talk about me. Their testimonials are more emotional. And, I hear things kind of like, I've never felt so seen in a photo before. And all of that isn't luck. It's really through that intentional hospitality and all the things we're doing. And that has truly helped the client feel more seen. For high school seniors, not only does it make the senior feel seen, but it honors the parent. And I think that that is really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think sometimes, especially like seniors specifically, um, photographers can forget about the parents a little bit, right? Like it seems to be always about the senior, and that's who we market to primarily, although I'd argue it can be both. But we sometimes forget about the parents. So it's really, really important to remember them and think about them.
Right. Yeah. It has to be a balance because the parents are paying, the senior is the client, but really the parent is the client. They're both the client, and you have to honor both of them. I always like to take a picture of the mother and the daughter if there's a daughter involved. I do a lot of senior boys too, and some of the boys don't want pictures with mom, but a lot of the girls do. So I always make sure I just add that as a little extra tidbit that I can offer. And it's a memory that they're creating together of that day, that time in their senior year.
I love that, especially because like that mom is like potentially going to be an empty nester. Maybe they have younger kids as well. Or maybe it's the first time one of their kids is leaving the nest. Like it's a big moment for them.
It is. And sometimes this is their last senior, so sometimes they're crying during the session. So I try to find ways to involve them. I usually have an assistant that's with me when I'm doing those shoots, but I still try to involve the parent, even if it's just a matter of holding uh, a reflector or just helping to check, the clasp on the necklace and, is the hair in the right position? Because they feel very involved at that point. And when they're involved, they're not thinking about, just the transition that they're going through as their senior is going through her own transition or his own.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of transition then. Speaking of,
Yeah.
to little segue. Let's transition then to soulful marketing for the creative, because that's something that you are an expert in. So you have a background in marketing. What are some of like the biggest mistakes that you see creatives making when they try and promote themselves?
That is a great question. I think one of the biggest mistakes has to do with just not having a strategy and relying just on social media. I think without a strategy, you're just making a lot of motion. It's kind of like being in a lake. So think about a duck in a lake, and up top, what you see is calmness, right? The duck's just floating along, but underneath, it's paddling like crazy. Well, that's the same as if you don't have a strategy. It's very labor intensive to just sort of take a stab at your social media to try to generate interest and awareness. You have to do an overall strategy in more than one place. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. I think the other one is it's super important to know who your ideal client is or isn't. And if you focus on everyone being your ideal client, you'll probably be reaching for no one because it's not targeted. So the message can't land if it's very generalized. You need the message to land on the people who need to hear it. Another is really just posting content that is technically pretty good content, but it doesn't have any heart. It's just a post. So I think it's really important that when you do social media posts, that you're posting from your heart about who you are and what it would feel like to work together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I wanted to come back to what you said. It like stuck in my brain where you said photographers need to understand who their ideal client is, but then also who their ideal client isn't. And I think, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but for me, I sometimes find myself saying, okay, well, my ideal client is this, this, and this, but it also could be this, and it could be this. And I try, I start like putting all these people into like the my ideal client is category, but it's kind of a mindset shift to think about it and say, okay, but what aren't they? Like, who can I rule out,
Yeah.
for that? And I think that that's actually like a really healthy thing to do for photographers in their business.
So we get caught up in other photographers might be charging $100, $200 for a session, and they're going to give away all the digitals. That is okay. It's okay for them to do that. Like, let them, because you are going to focus on what you provide for your customer and what they're looking for. A $200 customer that wants all of the digitals is not your customer, because we know our customers are looking for an elevated experience. They are looking to feel special. They are looking to be seen and not just sort of run through a mini session feel. They want something that is unique. Otherwise, their picture is going to look the same as their neighbor's pictures.
True.
So we have to let go of that feeling that it's bad to be a $200 photographer or it's stealing our business. It's not. Our business is still going to come to us because of what we provide and because of who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so powerful, right? Like everybody is different and there's plenty of clients for everybody. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, everybody needs a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody needs a really good picture.
Very
We're not talking selfies and, pictures the grandma took of you.
right. So true. So then, okay, so then Lisa, how has your marketing background influenced the way you create content for your own brand?
Well, first, it gives me structure. I'm constantly asking, so what does my audience need? What emotions am I trying to evoke? And how do I show up consistently without burning out, right? Because,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's a lot. I've worked with like really large Fortune 50 technology companies. I've worked with small businesses, and I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of marketing. I have also, in my career, created the good, the bad, and ugly in campaigns too. So I've learned like what's going to work and what's not. And I think that has helped me to just hone in on the fact that people don't want to be sold. They want to know how doing business with me is going to solve their problem and what it would be like. That's what they really want to know. And my job as a marketer is to show them that and answer that question.
Yeah. And I think that thinking about it, it's a really important distinction, right? That marketing is about the client. And like you said, how, is your service going to help them? How are your photos going to help them? What are they going to get out of it? And I feel like a lot of photographers make the mistake of making it about themselves. They're always like, here's how many years I've been in business, and here's my credentials, and here's this, and here's that. But they never address how their business or their service is going to make the client's life better.
100%. Marketing is always about the client and not what we want them to know about us. It's what they need to know so that they can then write a check. Because no one, if a client is confused and they don't understand how that's going to take care of whatever concern they have, they're not going to buy. So we have to make sure that we answer their questions. So it is very outward focused on them and not us at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like over here taking like mental notes and like, okay, remember, make the marketing about the client. But yeah, that's super important. Now, Lisa, let me ask you this. With your marketing background, do you use content pillars? Because I've heard that term used quite a bit. So do you use content pillars or themes to guide what you post? And then if so, like, how do those look for you?
I do use content pillars, and I just think of it like buckets. They could be themes, but I just use them as buckets. And I have six roughly. Once in a while I'll come up with an extra bonus one or something. For the most part, they're going to fit into these six categories. So one will be like it's branding, education, and strategy, because that's a big part of my business. Then there's the client spotlights and their success stories. And it could be success for a branding client that I might have, but it could also be success for a senior session or a family session. It doesn't, you get to determine what that would be about. Then there's behind the scenes and kind of process types of content. The fourth one is empowerment and confidence. So you could add what is going to help them, meaning your client, feel the most successful and the most confident. And number five is promotions, offers, and events. So that's a little bit about us, and you can put in things about why a client would want your promotion or your offer or come to your event. And then the sixth one is really about thought leadership and maybe some personal insights. And notice that all the other content is a lot more content than the promotions. You really don't want to just be promoting all the time. Really, for every 6 posts, maybe you could do a little promo. But for the most part, I don't. I might tell them how to book, but I try to avoid just blasting them with a promo. And I think, using the content pillars just makes things easier. When you're planning the content, keeps my content aligned to my brand, and it just provides consistency for my clients so that they know they can count on me to keep it organized. And if I can keep all of that organized, then it gives them more trust that I'm going to be able to provide them the solution that they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of us hit a wall when it comes to marketing, and it either starts to feel like exhausting or we lose our voice. So what would you say, Lisa, to someone who's feeling that burnout or the inconsistency when it comes to that?
Well, first off, I think if you can get help, because if marketing is not your area of genius, it's going to be harder than it needs to be anyway. So if you can afford it in your business, then get help. There are people that can help you even just create your strategy, or they can consult with you just to kind of fine tune it so that then if you want to run with it, you can. But so get help. But the other thing is, for half of the life of my business, so I've been in business for 18 years, for at least half of that and then some, I had a full-time job and I ran my business full-time. So talk about burnout. I mean, I was always working. Good thing I loved what I did. But I think you just have to take a step back sometimes and feed yourself, like fuel yourself. Remember what you fell in love with when you were taking pictures. Like, was it landscape photography? Was it animals, pets? Or for me, if I'm not taking pictures of something, because I always am, I may want to learn something new, like take a class, take a cooking class, a wine tasting class, a flower arranging class, something to give back to myself where I don't have a client demand attached to it. And I think when everything we do is driven by getting a paycheck or that client demand, I think that's easy to get burned out. So we have to give something back to us. And I think that for me is just, I got to fuel myself.
That's so important. And I like the way you phrase it, like giving back to yourself, like almost like filling your own cup again.
Mhm.
I've been dealing with burnout for the past 2 years and I'm finally sort of coming out of it, but that's a good point, Lisa. That's something that I should incorporate moving forward, is like actually being intentional about what I give back to myself and like creating that time for myself to fill my cup.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to do it not just when it's during the slow time. You have to do it even more when you are slammed. And that means you have to, carve out a few, even if it's a couple of hours, go for a walk in the park and look at the flowers. That's simple. Doesn't even cost you anything to do that, but it just feeds that need to imagine or just be free without the deadline, or
Yeah.
or that thought, are they going to like it, all of that, because we second guess ourselves all the time.
True. That
Yeah.
is true.
And so go do something you've never done before, because you can't really judge that because you haven't done it before. You can
True.
do it
Right.
really bad and it'll still be fine.
True. Maybe like, because I'm a perfectionist, so like that's really hard for me to do, to like do. But maybe like for me, I should go at it with like, okay, I'm going to do this to do it wrong or to fail, just to like, you know, get that out of the way.
Yeah, or I also go out and play with my cell phone, and I'll take my cell phone to the park and I'll be like, okay, well, what would happen if I took a picture, if I put my cell phone like in a little bunch of clover or flowers, so in a flower garden, and what if I took a picture looking up at me from my cell phone, of me
Yeah.
looking down at my phone, but it looks like I'm looking at the flowers. What would that look like? And okay, sometimes what you see is up your nose. That is not great. But other times it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I need to like think about that perspective with a client with my real camera.
Yep.
It's like,
Yeah,
oh, maybe I
absolutely.
should change the angle.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a way to like just introduce some creative play. And in doing so, it doesn't really matter whether the photo that you were playing with sucked or not. Who cares? Because you were actually just trying a bunch of stuff out. It's like a big fat experiment. And so long, you didn't blow up the house or you didn't blow up, something else with your experiment. So it's okay to just try and try something else.
I love that. Like, what wonderful words of encouragement.
Yeah. I mean, right now, you could plan a little trip to the Botanic Gardens and go look at the beautiful tulips.
Yeah. Such a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then Lisa, how do you personally define success when it comes to marketing your business?
Well, what I love is when somebody will make a comment, in a campaign or an email that I've sent out. They'll say, "Oh my gosh, I feel like you were speaking to me," or "This could not have been better timed." And I just feel like, yay, okay, so that's successful. Or when somebody found me that maybe wouldn't have normally found me otherwise. I feel like that's success. It's not about measuring how many followers you have, because frankly, a good portion of our followers don't like, comment, or share. So they're looky-loos, and it's okay, because when they're ready, if you keep posting and you keep doing your thing, they will likely come around. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes it's just a few months. I just love it when I reach new people.
That's awesome to hear. And I feel like that's a really good measure for success, right? Like it's almost like the like not quantifiable type data sets, like that can be more powerful. Because you're right, like majority of our followers maybe don't even see our content, but even if they do, they just keep scrolling past it.
Yeah, there's one measurement that for social media, there's one measurement that I use, and it isn't likes or shares, it's impressions. Because number one, that number is generally fairly high. And what that really means is it could be like in the thousands. So say, it's 1900 impressions. That means that 1900 eyeballs at least saw my content for 1 second that month. That's pretty good. That's dynamite. So, and if the next month I have that many impressions again, then I actually know people are watching, regardless of what they're engaging in. So the impressions is really a metric that is great to look at from a success standpoint, because it's telling you how many eyeballs have actually seen your content, regardless of what they did with it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so then my next question for you is when you start to feel overwhelmed with content for social media, what helps you ground yourself and then stay consistent?
Well, that's a good question. I think for me, I'm all about choosing joy. So I want to create joy again and again and again. And if it's been like, if I've had a tough go of something for, a week or two or a month or however long, I just really like to create joy by grabbing my camera, no pressure, and just play. And that really helps me stay grounded, because it doesn't have to be perfect. Or I should rephrase that. It doesn't have to be client perfect. It can be artist excellent, right? Sometimes I also like to write a note just to a past client. And that helps me to remind myself that the work that I do does matter. And so I'll try to jot a little note about, hey, I was just thinking of you guys and how much fun we had during that photo session last year or whenever it was. And it just helps to connect me to that. but then it reminds them. And again, it goes back to the hospitality, that unreasonable hospitality. I mean, do you hear from your auto mechanic, a year down the road? Probably not.
No.
Right. But what if we did? Wouldn't you want to go see him? Like, ooh, I think I need some new windshield wipers
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, it would make you want to seek that out.
Okay, so Lisa, tell me about synthography and AI in photography. What first got you curious about using AI in your creative work?
So what got me curious about AI really is it's like play. So I am a technology geek. I have worked in technology most of my career, so I'm always exploring what the latest and greatest thing is. And even before I was laid off on my marketing job, I was creating a pilot project for how to use AI in my role at the agency. So when I fast forward to when I come to, my own business, I'm like, okay, let's look at how AI is changing the landscape for photographers. And there are some amazing editing tools out there that help you to cull your images so that, I don't know about you, but culling my images is the thing I don't like to do the most.
It's so hard.
It's hard because sometimes there's very little difference from one photo to another. They're just so nuanced. And so it's hard to determine, was this better than that? So AI is really good at culling my images. I let it do that. And I have trained my AI to just be able to do a baseline edit, which really is all it is. It's a crop and it is a color correct overall. And then I go and I start looking at those top images and what do I need to do, on those before I show a client. It saved me a ton of time, in doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree because I don't use it to cull quite yet, but I do use it to edit. And honestly, like it's taken over 90% of my editing. It's kind of insane. And it does it like so quickly.
Yeah, well, wait till you use it to cull because that'll blow your socks off.
I'm sure.
Because something that would take you, a couple of hours sometimes, you can streamline that to, like just machine time
Yeah.
while you go make dinner or go take pictures of flowers or something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you were also asking a little bit about the synthography, and I won't, I'll save the depth for a different question, but I think I was looking at how can I create something different that can marry the two, the the AI piece and real photography. So that's kind of where my curiosity started. And then a bunch of ideas were developed from that.
I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a lot of fear and a lot of buzz around AI, especially in our industry. But where do you see it taking us, Lisa?
Well, I think first off, it gives creative people new tools. It is not replacing talent. I think photographers who thrive will be the ones who keep the heart and the human connection while using tech to really amplify their vision. AI is going to amplify what we do, and it's going to save us time, and it's going to like just simplify some of the processes so that it can complement the other aspects of our business that we're doing. So I would just approach it with the mindset of AI is going to amplify everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And create so many shortcuts for us too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Most
for
definitely.
for photographers who are worried about how AI might replace them, What would you say to them?
Okay, so like, let's get real here. First off, a camera did not replace painters. Yes, painters still paint and photographers still take pictures. So that did not replace, one did not replace the other. Photoshop did not kill film. There are still film photographers out there. AI is not going to replace photographers. It's going to replace order takers, I think, because we still need the human. People still crave the soul that we put into their portraits. People will still crave the experience. And for me, this makes the unreasonable hospitality even more important because AI is not going to be able to give them an elevated experience where you laugh together, and you can cry knowing that, like you just knocked their socks off with the best photo shoot they've had in their entire life. That AI cannot replace that. And so the sooner we stop thinking about how AI is going to hurt us or is coming to take away our business, we need to just get smart about how can we partner with AI to make it easier to do our business.
Yeah. And I liked that word that you use, partner with it, because I think that that is really key, to be honest, right? Like, let's partner with it to help us out. Like, don't fear it. Like, it'll be there to help.
Yeah, I mean, and people who don't embrace it are going to be doing it the way they've always done it. And what happens when that happens? When we always do what we've always done, then we always get what we've always got. And we're in a time where business and the world moves at such a fast pace that we can't stay in business if we're still doing what we've always done. So this gives us a chance to do it differently and amplify our business so that we can keep making offers and keep ourselves viable.
Yeah, absolutely. So then going off of that, Lisa, how do you use AI as a tool while still keeping the soul and the connection in your work?
So first off, when I'm using AI, so for instance, even with my synthography, which is really a blend of a real picture with some digital painting kind of techniques, and maybe marrying that with an AI generated image. It all starts with a real image, and then I build from that place of authenticity. So it's all rooted in the emotion of and the connection of that image and what happened there. And then it's just reimagined through art and storytelling. So I think, if you want to put a little girl in a scene that makes it look like she's at Cinderella's castle, then you can do that. And she will always remember the time where she had her photo taken where she was being Cinderella in her fancy dress and all of that. And then she's going to see the magic of what you create and what you put with that with on the AI side, where all of a sudden now she's in a scene that looks like she's at Cinderella's castle, and she never was, but it's like magic. So I think that's how you keep the soul of the image and the product that we create. It's because it's still rooted in the human connection.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I would love to hear more about your synthography and what does like a synthography session look like? Walk us through it.
Okay, so I have these sessions that I call them a portrait, P-A-W, trit session. And a lot of times for pets, somebody may have lost a pet. That's kind of how it started. Is I had a friend who lost their beloved pet. And so the client sent me their favorite photo of that pet. Well, I knew this client, so I also had a picture of their pet that I had taken at another session. So I kind of used those two images, and that's what I start with, the one I took and the one that they provided to me. And I ask a lot of questions of the client about like what were some of the quirks and the personality traits of this pet. And I want to find out very much like a regular human client. I want to find out, what they like to do. Did they just always really like to like lay in the sun? For instance, I had one of my clients, their dog was a lab, and he loved to lay on the driveway and watch the people walk by. So they put him on a long, kind of like a rope leash, but he always just stayed there. It wasn't like he wanted to wander off. He would just lay there and just be daydreaming all day long. So that's where I start. I look at who that is and who this dog is, for instance. I haven't done a lot of cats, but I've done a lot of dogs. And some dogs are really regal, and some dogs are really goofy. And so I look at what kind of a character could I create with this dog? Um, and that's where I start. So then I might create a version of that dog using some AI prompts. And then I take what AI gave me and whatever refinements maybe that I've made. And then I try to blend the two. I try to blend these images together to bring, like, a lot of times I'm like borrowing or lifting the eyes so that the eyes of my image look just like the eyes of their pet. And or they had a quirky ear that always kind of popped up. So I would make sure, because AI doesn't necessarily know to do that, so I would make sure that I was using that part of the ear when I would Photoshop the composite together. And then I start putting, I'll use brush strokes in Photoshop and use like digital painting techniques to bring that to life. So it looks like a fine art type of portrait. I've done, dogs as like Renaissance dogs where they have the big old collar, the white Elizabethan collar. And I created one for my own dog. He looks like he's out of the steampunk time period. And it looks just really just like him, only better. He's a character. And so I just blend the essence of what I creatively came up with, what that creative scene is, and I just put it together. And they're really fun, and people just love them. Yeah, they're amazing.
That's so fun to hear, and like how cool that you can be so creative with it. Partnering with AI, using it to your advantage to create something so original and unique. That's very, very innovative. I love to hear that, Lisa.
Yeah, I did the same thing with horses. I had a friend they have girls that are barrel racers. So I photographed their horses, and then I created different horses in AI, and I wanted their mane to be blowing. And then I put them together and created, 6 different pictures of these horses that are really they're very popular. I actually made them and displayed them somewhere, and everybody like bought them. It was pretty funny.
That's super cool. I love to hear that. Okay, so I know that you also offer a couple of really amazing services for creatives. Can you tell us more about your brand and online presence audit and your brand clarity power hour? And then who are these best for? What kind of transformation can people expect from this? Like, tell me more about those.
Yeah, so since this video and the people watching are going to be creatives, photographers that are looking to, maybe elevate their own brand, my brand and online present audit it really helps to just look at all of your brand, from your website, from your logo, from all of your social media, all of that public facing parts of your brand, and look at what's working, what's not working. And then I provide actionable steps that will help you elevate your brand. And these are actions that in most cases you can do yourself to change that, to like make that better. So that audit is typically $390. And if somebody has watched this video and they let me know when they reach out on my website, I will give them 20% off that price.
Wow, that's so wonderful. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah, and this really helps. It just helps you to get targeted. Then I have the other offer is a brand clarity power hour. And it's like we just get on a call and we are going to look at this is a one-on-one strategy kind of deep dive. It's great if you want direction. It's not just about inspiration. It's like, let's get some direction about where you're going to go with your strategy, and we help to give you the focus, the confidence, and the traction. When we do that, you'll get some expert insights about what's going on with your current brand, and and figure out, well, what might be repelling clients? Because sometimes we think we are very clear about what we're doing and it's not. And so it could be repelling a client. And so we look at, well, how can we shift that? So that offer it's $250 for the call. And then I will offer 20% off of that as well if you just mention about this video.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your heart with us today. I feel like we covered so much, from client connection to showing up authentically in your marketing, and even embracing AI without losing your soul or the soul of your craft in the process. If you're watching this and you want to take your brand to the next level, definitely check out Lisa's offerings like her brand audit and her clarity power hour. The links are in the description. And like Lisa mentioned, if you mention this video when you contact her, she'll give you a nice little discount. And as always, if you got something out of this episode, I want to hear about it. Put it in the comments. I read each and every single one of them. And who knows, maybe we'll answer your questions in the next video. And as always, don't forget to give us a like. Give us a subscribe if you want to. It takes half a second. It takes no energy, but it really does help the channel out and allows me and Lisa to make more videos just for you. We'll see you in the next video.